exactly who I am. Forgive me for crossing paths once again. Isn't it funny that life dictates who I am?
So welcome to LouisvilleOne, a new podcast and vidcast aimed at helping us all to see the humanity in one another across what might seem to be divides. I was able to attend an event over the weekend. It was actually Sunday, September the 15th, called The Big Table. It was held at Iroquois Park on the road behind the amphitheater, if you're familiar with that area. And The Big Table is Kentucky's largest potluck. They estimate, early estimates are that about 1,600 people attended. You have people from all over the city, all different nationalities are represented and cultures. People come from all over to break bread and to break down barriers. And so it's a really beautiful event. It's free to attend. There's no charge. People bring a dish. A lot of times they'll share recipes and things like that. And you get to meet all these fantastic people. So take a walk with me. I've got a video here, or maybe you're listening to this on the podcast and you'll be hearing this. But let me introduce the event to you. I know a lot of people, I was kind of surprised I had told about it, had never heard of the event. And so it'll be a great idea to get the word out about the event. But also, this is a chance to meet some of your neighbors, to meet people that maybe you're around in traffic or attending an event with, or going to a restaurant with, and maybe you're breaking bread in the same place, but you don't know these people. And all these people have a story to tell. I went around and interviewed people and tried to get input as to maybe some community issues that people think might need to be addressed. And so really had some interesting conversations with some interesting people. I'd like to share that with you. In fact, my wife and I happened to sit at a table and have a very unique experience that I'll share at the end. So join with me. Let's take a walk. Let's go through this event at Iroquois Park called The Big Table, and I hope you enjoy it.
My job is I'm on the ground in one of our most violent areas, and I work with kids who've been touched by the courts.
Are you?
I spend a lot of time in court. Our agency works with 16 to 24-year-olds. I personally work with 18 to 24-year-olds because it's so hard to get juveniles' parents to cooperate, because if I sign off on something, then you find out stuff about my family, and you really don't really want me working, with my family. So I like what I do.
Yeah. What do you, actually, I'm recording now. Is that okay?
Yeah,
what would you say though? Are some of the issues that you see in the community that maybe aren't being talked about a whole lot?
People are, white privileged Louisville is not having conversations with poor Louisville. We just recently I personally and some of my friends just recently started to get some privileged white people involved in things that are going on in the West End, and they've been so receptive. Like I have this one white lady, and I was like, meet me on such and such, and this is gang territory, and she's like, I'm on my way, and I was like, she was not about to drive there. I looked up, she's pulled up her Lexus. So she pulled up, and so just really getting the conversation started. Yeah. Because white privileged Louisville don't know the plight of poor black Louisville unless they have a conversation. And so I think a lot of people want to talk about it, but people don't want to be uncomfortable. And so we have got to have an uncomfortable conversation in order for us to,
And you don't want white privileged Louisville coming in saying, we're going to fix you, or we're going to fix your area. It's a conversation between two different people.
Don't want white privileged Louisville coming down in the West End telling them what they're going to do with their property and what they're going to do with different stuff. And so we had a really good conversation Friday and Saturday night. We had a summit down at the Kentucky African American Heritage Museum.
Awesome.
And so white privilege was there, white developers was there.
Yeah.
And so they had this table made. So if you were a citizen in that community, you got to sit at the table.
Yeah.
If you weren't, you sit on the out of the table, and you had to listen to the people who were at the table.
Oh, I like it.
You didn't get to talk unless somebody at the table asked you something. And so it was really, really good. So people who were sitting at the table got to tell people what they expected from people who were coming to the table.
And what was it? What did they expect?
they expect
What were
people-
some things that they
They
expect?
expect people to treat them with respect and dignity. And
Yeah.
just because I'm poor and you live in $1 million house, you know, my pain is the same as yours, even though you live in a nicer house.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, pain's the same in the polo fields as it is in the projects. of West
Absolutely it
Louisville.
is.
And so we just got to start having the conversation to weave people together, to get people to understand each other a lot better. So
Well,
I'm back working in an area that I did drugs in 25 years ago, so I've been sober 21 years.
Congratulations.
And here comes our chief of resiliency.
Congratulations.
Eric
Hi, how are you?
Freelander's our chief of resiliency for the city.
So I'm with LouisvilleOne. We're a new local podcast that's starting in video series.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of it is to give a voice to the voiceless, to help
hair, by
people.
the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we go to the same barber. But the whole purpose is to help have these conversations that aren't being had, and to have them broadcast to the public where anyone can listen. The person on the east end, the west end, and central Louisville, southern Indiana. We're all people. And we all hurt the same.
Yeah.
We all go through a lot of the same trials and tribulations. We may have different experiences, but you know, the goal is just to humanize everyone, because I don't think that that's something that we do a great job of. We're good at us versus them and breaking off into tribal communities.
Oh yeah.
And so, so what we're doing is just kind of talking to people about what you see as some of the issues in the community that are not being talked about. Is there anything that you see in particular? I know she mentioned here with the homeless community, you work with them a lot.
Yeah.
Like, what is their pain that no one sees and no one's talking about?
There's so much. First, Chief of Resilience and Community Services, so that's neighborhood place and things like that.
Okay.
So, right.
Excellent.
Meals on Wheels, all sorts of
Oh,
things.
Meals
like
on
that.
Wheels,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great program. So, yes. And then the resilience work, if you don't mind, it's a little commercial.
No, go
we
ahead.
Came up with what we call, because a lot of it was more around a lot of resilience, 100 resilient cities had a lot more of sustainable environment pieces. We have that too, but we also have what we were focusing on human resilience.
Okay.
So we came up,
Yeah.
we haven't done a great job of marketing this, but we came up with what we call our Louisville resilience equation, and that's Louisville resilience equals equity plus compassion plus trust, right? So everything that we're trying to do needs to build those equity, compassion, and trust, because the mayor talks about compassion all the time. Whenever you talk to
Compassionate city.
yeah, right. Whenever you talk to folks who are on the margins, it's always about trust, right?
Yeah.
It's always about trust.
Absolutely.
And the same thing with equity. How do you have that discussion if you don't have trust to have that discussion?
Sure.
So things like this today,
Yeah.
where we actually kind of sit down at a table, and there's really tremendous science around. If you get like that basic Maslow's food kind of taken care of,
Maslow's hierarchy.
then you can it's easier to have the more complex discussions.
Sure.
And what I think is really exciting about this, I really am getting to your question. But what I think is
That's
really
okay. That's
exciting
okay.
about
No,
this
it's beautiful.
is this is supposed to bounce off into what they call community civic
Civic dinners. Yes.
same thing, kind of atomizing it,
Yeah.
so that you can have those discussions,
Yes.
right, where it's hard to do, but you're doing it around table, you're doing it around community.
Yeah.
And so the theory we were going for in resilience is, and this gets to what you were talking about, the more interconnected we are as a community, the more we see that what happens to you happens to me,
Yes.
right? Particularly the
Yes.
homeless community, right? The more we see that as, that's just me with different luck.
Yeah.
That's me with different luck or a different gene in my head around addiction.
Yeah.
We're all like one step away.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so you can see people in the homeless community, like former engineers and people who you wouldn't expect to be there, but through addiction or trauma or something happening with their behavioral health issues, that's who's out there.
Yeah.
And there are good people out there, and there are bad people out there. There are people that are like, oh, I don't.
And that's in
I don't
any
need what-"
community.
Exactly.
In all parts of any community.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
you got folks who'll take everything. You got folks who's like, I only want what I want. I don't
Right.
need anything else. But you know what? You see the same thing in a boardroom, right?
That's
you see
sure,
the
yeah.
same thing there, right?
Yeah.
People who are like, yeah, give me everything, and people
Yeah.
who are like, no, I'm thinking more about my community. That exists. It's the same community.
Same human characteristics
Same-
in different environments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And so it really does come to like, how lucky are you? Right?
Yeah. There's
So
a
if you-
lot. Luck plays a lot into
Yeah,
into things,
or-
or where you're born, or who
where
you're born
or
to.
who your parents, or what zip code you were born in.
Yeah.
I mean, we know these things. We know these things.
Right.
So we need to learn to acknowledge them. We
Yeah.
need to learn to know that, like, and it's true on the local level. Like the more we understand that we are interconnected, but take it to the global level, right?
Absolutely.
You know, the Amazon forest on fire
Affects
us
everybody.
here,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So the more we understand that we are living like in this terrarium, in this single cell kind of floating through space.
Yeah.
This is the only home we have.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And Louisville is the home that we have.
Yeah.
So we've got to take care of each other.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, it's true.
And so one of the things that we're asking people is what types of issues they see in the community that maybe they don't think are being talked about, you know, things, because we hear labels, you know, we know what homelessness, we know that label, but we don't know the people a lot of times. And so we're trying to start conversations that are broadcast to the public through podcasts and videos where people can go learn about the people in their community. So are there any issues that you all see that maybe you don't think are being addressed or discussed a whole lot, that, you know, maybe you live around or just present in your own families, or anything that you think maybe needs to be talked about more?
Well, yeah.
What do you think?
The first thing I thought of was coming here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only reason we came here. We never come to Iroquois Park because we live on the other side of town.
Oh, okay.
And sides of town mean something in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's something to be worth a gap.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things that we're trying to do, is because people get in tribes and there's us versus them, you know, there's the East End, the South End, the West End, Central. Personally, I live in Clarksville. I know to most Kentuckians that's like a foreign country in and of itself. I get it.
Go over there, don't you?
That's right.
And so it's really, it's nice to be able to, you know, meet people from different areas and to have discussions that are not had, which is obviously what we're doing here,
Right.
but also to discuss, like you talked about, the way people see each other across ends of town.
And,
you know.
and it's a blur.
Oh yeah.
It's too far away and too, like, I don't know what they're like.
Yeah, and humans are naturally tribal. We get caught up in our own bubble, and you know, whether it's people who believe like us, look like us, live in the same area as us. So, you know, I think that is a great thing to discuss, is bridging the gap between people in different areas.
Good, how are you? Made it.
Nice to see you. Yeah, I made it. Out here doing some interviews and meeting people.
Awesome.
Thank you for hosting this event and
Oh my gosh.
putting it all
You guys
together. I
hosted.
mean,
I just set the table. You guys make it happen. So.
Tables to set though.
About 250 of them. So yeah.
really, wow.
Before the evening ends, or as it ends afterwards, make sure you just kind of walk up and down. It's just really cool.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Well,
nice
thank you,
meeting
guys.
everybody. All right, take care, Jeff. All right. Is there anything that you see personally that maybe in your neighborhood, your own family, issues that you think, you know, maybe need to be discussed more?
Probably not in my neighborhood or my family, but I'm in healthcare, and I think that we have a lot of healthcare inequities that are still not being addressed.
Oh yeah, healthcare is a huge issue for a lot of
is.
people. It's stressful because people wonder if they're going to be taken care of, and how that is going to impact their family. What do you see?
I think that there's not enough healthcare providers in pockets of Louisville to provide the care that's needed.
Oh really?
Whether it is, like the West, the South, people to take care of the homeless population and provide their healthcare needs.
Yeah.
We're not seeing a lot of outreach for those groups.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we're one of the greatest equalizers is that we all need health care. You know, I mean, I don't care who you are, where you come from, we all have health issues at some point. We all need that care. So
I think healthcare should be a right. I think we should all have free access to our healthcare.
Yeah.
So even if it means paying a little bit more in taxes, if I didn't have to pay as much for healthcare, I think it would.
Then you would have more maybe to pay in taxes to fund that, right?
Yeah, people should not be filing bankruptcy for healthcare issues. I mean, to take care of their health.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a shame because people lose so much, and which just creates more stress, more health problems. People and just trying to ask people kind of what they think are some of the issues in the community that maybe aren't being talked about a lot.
Okay.
Is there anything that you see, you know, when you look around, or in your personal experience, that you think maybe we don't hear quite enough about, or maybe the right one?
I'm trying to think of like constructive things.
Yeah.
Well, so here we are here and I think one thing that we don't have in the city enough of is like opportunities for the different parts of the city to come together.
Hi, we've heard that a lot already.
And sharing meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
And really intimacy and vulnerability.
Yes.
So that would be like the thing that I would,
Yeah.
that I see the most of. That
Right.
it's like, we don't really have cross-sectional conversations here.
Right.
We all have personal conversations that we hold in safe spaces that we don't talk about in public spaces.
Sure.
And there's things that's not being spoken about or dealt with in public arenas that when we walk away from community conversations, we go back and we talk about what's happening, what's not happening. There's a reason why, and that's because people don't feel safe.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Fear.
Saying certain things in certain spaces.
Sure, of course.
Because the same people you hold accountable in this small town are the
It's
people
a small, big
that
town.
you work for, go to church with, kids interact with.
Sure.
And so, there's some conversations and conversations and myths that are perpetuated.
What are some myths that you see that you think are being perpetuated?
Just the way that development that's being done in the west end of Louisville, predominantly Russell neighborhood right now, it has been done supposedly for the benefit of the Russell community, but that's much different than the Russell residents. And so,
I see. I think I see the difference there.
Building up the community, they're also moving out the residents.
The residents, yeah.
And so what you have is a government that's concerned about census tract, but not the people. So you take the people and you dilute them across the city, and you improve census tracts, but you don't do anything for people's lives. And so it's very hard to celebrate when the mayor talks about $1 billion coming into the city when you don't know who's benefiting from that $1 billion. And
it's not the people who
as
are.
the mayor talks about being a businessman, all business people have business plans. They have goals and objectives.
Right.
My question is, for $1 billion coming in, what's the goal, objective, what's the plan? If you got $1 billion coming in, why do we have homelessness like we do downtown?
Right.
That's gathering downtown.
Where's the billion going?
If you got $1 billion, why do we have issues in our education system and such a gap in learning? If you got $1 billion, why are we having the livable wage for those residents that live in West Louisville not begin to increase? And so if you got $1 billion and you want to celebrate $1 billion, but it doesn't change the reality for people who need it the most, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And those are conversations that's not really coming out in the light of day as they should. You hear bits and pieces of things. You hear people talking about it like we're talking about it. But there's no organization that's able to get those questions answered in a way that is helpful.
Yeah. And the powers that be aren't reaching out to have those conversations because they have their business plan.
So when you have a development that has come into the West End, like we see right now, but you have neglected to put measures in place to ensure that people are actually trained for those jobs, that need those jobs, to actually talk about community development agreements in the day of light. So if some businesses got them, what's in them, and who's holding that accountable, and how is that making a difference? I mean, if these type of things haven't been done, and so now the community's trying to scramble to see how can we protect ourselves, how we can make this development beneficial for people. So these kind of these types of things aren't happening in a way that make a difference. Not enough.
So it's not making a difference for the people who are there, who need the difference.
Council and make a statement.
You
can write an op-ed piece. that doesn't change reality.
Yeah.
That doesn't get to the problem.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold anybody accountable. Nobody has to answer that.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things.
Nobody's getting to the real issue and dealing with the real people.
And then how money's being spent in this city, the wastefulness, what's happening when Metro Council passed the budget and they got rid of the detention center, and the question became, well, if a kid gets picked up for truancy, where you send them? Where do you take them? Where they go? They get in trouble. Thank you. They get in trouble at school, and the police pick them up. Where do you take them? Now where do you take them? Now what do you do with those kids?
What are they doing?
Nobody has done any type of research to find out what a move like that would actually do to the lives of people.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any equity reports that have come out where you have seen the city say, this report says X, Y, and Z, and we're going to respond in this way in order to address this issue. We talk a great deal about redlining, the redlining report. I have yet to hear any policies that specifically deal with redlining.
Really?
They may talk about equity, but they don't talk about redlining.
Gotcha.
They'll talk about redlining in the sense we're going to discuss it and inform people. But then when it comes to policy, they don't put the word redlining in there. They're scared to. It takes courage to deal with issues like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing, I guess, in light of where we are, this contextually can sound bad. But when we talk about descendants of slaves and African Americans, we get put together in the conversations of minorities, which actually water down the voices of descendants of slaves and African Americans. And so when you look at different reports that talk about how black people are doing, how African Americans are doing, how descendants of slaves are doing, you'll find out that we're really doing a lot worse than other minority groups and probably need more help. And we are descendants of this land. And so if you're actually going to help people that need it the most, then there were policies that were put in place, especially with redlining, that targeted certain groups. In order to correct that wrong, you got to put policies in place to help those groups that were actually targeted.
Sure.
Not everybody, but the ones that were hurt.
Yeah.
Now, those types of hard conversations, many people, many good-willed people don't want to have those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
I have nothing to talk now.
I'm saying it's just like show your face.
Right down there by the playground.
And I think it was originally orange-ish black, and we kept thinking
But I tell you, I wouldn't have done it. Wow.
Excuse me.
So I hope you enjoyed this little trip through Iroquois Park, through members of our community, meeting different people, getting to know a little bit about what they care about, the issues that they see in the community, things that they're passionate about that maybe we can get behind, or maybe these are things that impact you in your own life. We are all one, and that's why I started this podcast in the first place, in this video series. So I promised that I would share one of my own stories from the event, and I'll do that now. For those of you who've listened to episode 1, you know a little bit about me. My wife and I left a very high control religious community 4 years ago, and we are shunned. We no longer exist. We are dead to everyone that we knew previously. And so we were sitting at a table. Again, these tables are random, okay? So we walked up. There was a nice lady and a gentleman. They were like, "Hey, would you like to sit here?" We said yes. That's as random as it gets. Another lady happened to walk up later on. She sat at our table. And one of the things that we did at the event is there were these Louisville conversation cards. And if you ever see them around, I encourage you to pick some up. They're a lot of fun. They're just conversation starters. They start, I think there's level maybe 1 through 3, start a little more surface level, get a little deeper as you go. And they encourage people to get to know one another. So we were using those at our table to get to know one another. So the card that I happened to choose was, I believe it said something like, "Name a time that you made your parents proud." My dad died shunning me. My mom shuns me to this day. They were not the type of people to express a lot of pride in their children anyway. Not a lot of attaboys in our family growing up. So I looked at the question. I had a laugh about it because it was kind of absurd that I happened to be the one to pick that question. And in doing so, I said, "Look, here, I don't mind being vulnerable. I tell my story. I speak my truth. I have no problem doing so." So I said, here's kind of my situation. They're certainly not proud of me at this point, but I'm proud of myself. And in the end, that's what matters. I'm proud of the person that I've become. I'm proud of taking a stand against some horrific things that happen in the community that I was a part of. I'm proud of myself for speaking out now and for being a conduit to help other people who are leaving similar situations to better their lives. And so, everybody, kind of had a few questions for me. We talked a little bit. The next person pulled their card, they answered their question. Next person pulled their card, answered their question. Next person pulled their card, answered their question. And then it came out that it just so happened that this lady was born in Brazil. She was raised in the same religion that I was raised in. And she's been in the United States now for 10 years. And she was shunned as well from the exact same religious community after watching her sister die in her arms, refusing a blood transfusion over their very strict religious doctrine. And she couldn't reconcile that, and because of that, she was shunned. And she just happened, out of the 1,600 or so people at this event, to sit at my table. Me, an activist, a person who speaks out about this from this exact same religious community and who has been shunned for 4 years, and who now, as a personal life coach, helps people to rebuild their lives after these events. She's been here for 10 years. She came here, didn't know the language, didn't know how to drive, and had literally no one. She came here for 2 weeks for something she was doing for her job, and she's now been here for 10 years. And, when the chances that we got together, pretty slim. It was a beautiful coincidence. We're very happy to have been able to meet each other, and we owe that to the big table. And so this shows the power of having these conversations, the power of being vulnerable, the power of speaking your truth. You never know who you might help out there, which is why I already do this on a larger scale through the Shun community, as far as we have people spread throughout the world. But, here in Louisville, Kentucky, this is a chance to speak out and to show that we are one. We're all people. Even the people at our table who were not from the same community that I was and that my wife was and that this lady was, they still felt our pain and they understood. And people, there was someone who interviewed us from another entity, another media company. She's estranged from her family for different reasons. And we all hurt the same. We all have struggles. And we can all have triumphs together too, if we start to talk. And that's what this event, the Big Table, is about. That's what my podcast and video series, LouisvilleOne, is about. So I want to shout out how you can get involved. If you want to find out more about the Big Table and what they're doing, go to globalhumanproject.net. If you are interested in doing this, maybe on a micro scale, there is a project called Civic Dinners that was also launched from the Big Table. You can go to civicdinners.com/TLC-Louisville. Or you can just go to civicdinners.com. There's a search there where you can search for events in your area. You can also search if you want to host an event and just type in Louisville and you'll find the opportunities there. But Civic Dinners allows you, it's kind of structured. People get together at someone's home, they break bread, or maybe, I guess they maybe do it at restaurants. They break bread. There are a few questions to ask to start conversations, and people get to meet each other, people who maybe ordinarily would never meet. So I want to encourage you to reach out to those organizations. The information will be in the show notes. You can access the show notes through if you're listening on a podcast app, you can probably go to the description and get them there. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll post things in the description there. You can also go to LouisvilleOne.org, and at LouisvilleOne.org, there's an episodes page, and for each episode there will be resources. So just go to episode 3 for the Big Table, and you'll find that information that you need. If you want to support what I'm doing with LouisvilleOne, you can reach out through LouisvilleOne.org. If you have a story to tell, if there's a community that you're seeing impacted and you want to speak for them, or introduce me to someone who wants to speak, please do so. Again, my goal here is to humanize all of us. I don't care who you are. We all have a story. And once we share that, we can start to understand one another a little bit and actually have conversations instead of arguments and being divided. I do private one-on-one therapeutic life coaching. If you would like to learn more about the coaching that I do, obviously I've had to rebuild my life. I've been out for 4 years. I literally had to start from zero. Everyone that I knew from my family on shunned me as of 4 years ago. I now have a lot of friends. I have a beautiful, wonderful life. My wife and I are both growing as individuals. I've had to break down a belief system and leave what many would term a cult. I've lost 50 pounds in my life. My wife and I got out of $58,000 worth of debt through 18 very long, hard months of working nonstop to clear that. I've been able to make a lot of changes in my life, and I've come out a much better person. I'm a much better person just as a human being as well in going through all this, and the lessons that we learn are often through the struggles that we have. So if you're struggling and you need help, reach out. I offer what is very low fee therapeutic life coaching, and I hope to be able to help people. And whether it's people that I meet through this, I already help in the larger shunned community. And this is what I love doing. I love helping people, and I love helping people write a better story for their life than maybe the one that they've been given or the roles they've been playing their whole life. So if you want to learn more about me personally, my story, as far as where I've been, there's been articles written about me in Insider Louisville. There's links on my website. It's michaelshemwell.com, Michael, typical spelling of Michael, Shemwell, SHEMWELL.com. And I'll also have a link to that in the show notes. So, reach out. You're not alone, and you don't have to go through life alone. There is help out there. I want to help. There are community organizations that want to help. You heard people today when you listen to this podcast or watch this video that there are other people in this community that see needs and that want to help. So let's start helping each other and do something better with our lives. So I appreciate your time. I hope you've enjoyed this experience and trying to get to know what this event is all about. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care and have a great day. Bye.